So notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the provisions of bylaw 0164B of the Riverside Local Board of Education, which was adopted in accordance with section 1.450 of the ORC and the Ohio Administrative Procedures Act. You call roll, please.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Kredinsky?
Here.
Mrs. Grassi?
Here.
Mr. Idino?
Here.
Ms. Brewster?
Here.
Mr. Byers? Here.
Thank you. Can we stand for the pledge of allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public comment during the meeting in the public participation section of the agenda. I make a motion to approve meeting minutes.
Jump for the agenda first.
Agenda.
Oh, sorry, we changed it.
Yes.
All right, I make a motion to approve the agenda. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I wanted to know about, is this the point at which we can table something on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay,
Make a motion to.
okay, I make a motion to table, let me get the item number. Hold on a minute. It was there. Executive session updates, right here. Item 16.
Which is,
And that is Board of Education business, those vouchers for Ohio.
Table or postpone? We have to have a second first.
Need a second.
Is there a second?
Well, this second, that just opens it for discussion, it doesn't actually take it off the agenda, right?
Correct.
Not yet.
Okay, well, I'll second it just so I hear your argument.
Is a table permanently, or is that just a postponement?
It's not a postponement. It is indefinite decision to not consider the subject matter of that
Okay.
item.
But could be brought back up at any point.
That is correct.
Could be, but not required.
Correct.
Postpone requires you to postpone it to a specific meeting, and then it would automatically be on the agenda for that specific meeting.
Whereas tabling, it does not.
And tabling can be brought up at this section at another meeting, correct, or is it get put
Yeah.
on through the?
Yeah, there would need to
process.
be a motion to remove it from the table and to add it to
Okay.
an agenda. It would need to be seconded, and it would
Okay.
need to be approved by a majority of the board.
And it would have to be before the agenda is approved.
Yes, that, Steve and I speak the same language.
Okay, so,
is there any discussion?
Well, I guess I'm curious, Ms. Brewster, is it something you want to discuss later on, or is, I'm not opposed to it, I'm just curious why we wouldn't vote on it to see if it would not pass or pass.
I think that, I think that the timing for it is a concern, and I'd like to table it right now. That was my thinking.
So I had the same question. Do we just want to keep it on so that we can just vote on it and get it,
And be done with it.
be done with it?
But yeah, that's where I'm kind of leaning, is that we can, this would be the third meeting where it's on the agenda. Well, I guess 2.5, because it was motion to be added to one. And today we can just, as a board, put it to bed whether we want to proceed or not.
That's where I'm at.
Any other discussion? Take the roll. And
And
this is a-
all you're doing is voting
on whether to table
Was
it.
whether to table it or not to
Right,
table.
so a yes vote will table it, and a no vote will leave it on the agenda.
You got it. Okay. Mrs. Krasinski,
Nay?
Mrs. Grassi,
Nay.
Mr. Audino,
Nay.
Miss Brewster,
Yes.
and Mr. Byers.
Nay.
Motion fails 4-1. So that means it's still on the agenda.
Okay.
Any other discussion under the approval of the agenda? Okay. Can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Audino,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Miss Brewster,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, that brings us to the approval of minutes. For March 12th, I make a motion to approve the minutes as attached for March 12th, 2026, March 31st, 2026, and April 9th, 2026. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Audino,
Aye.
and Miss Brewster.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And then that brings us to special reports.
Okay, Dr. Thompson, I have one tonight. I handed out a draft copy of it in print form of our updated facility plan. We took a look to update the plan to include all of the projects that are there, and some of the conversation we've been having kind of moving forward over facilities work, bond issue, tax issues and that sort of thing. So just to hit some high-level overview of what's to be expected and what are the major updates in the plan. First and foremost, I did update it with the current enrollment data versus OFCC projections from the study, just to kind of show that we still are. We are in fact declining in enrollment, however, that decline is not as projected via the study, but it is a real thing that we are seeing. I've updated a timeline reflecting some of the completed work. We tried to put together a draft timeline prior. Mr. Orlesic and his team, as they've been out and doing some things, they've knocked some of those out as well. Kind of knocked some high priority items on the Bialowski report. So those timelines were updated in the back as well. One of the things that was in there is the 12 classroom edition of Buckeye. That is in the funding mechanism of the COPS funding for that under phase 1 of the plan, or segment 1. And also mentioning the redistricting that will occur once that is complete, and the revisioning of Melridge for the 27-28 school year, assuming everything goes as planned with the Buckeye project. And then the phase 2 was more identified and kind of really spelled with some more specificity as to what to expect from that. So as I mentioned, enrollment numbers are very different. One of the things we've always kind of said is the projected enrollment studies don't really tell the true story, whereas we are seeing declining enrollment. The OFCC is in prior studies. We did not have one done recently, so this is the study back when Riverview was constructed. We are seeing still declining enrollment. Our projection is next year to most likely be under 4,000 students as we go through. And a lot of that is coming from, there are simply our kindergarten classes and our elementary classes are significantly smaller than our graduating classes. I think we're graduating somewhere around 325, I think, 350 this year. And we are looking, this year's kindergarten class is 250. We have 60 registered right now, but we just started kindergarten enrollment, so we'll see where we're at. But we're trending at that under 300 class size again, and kind of really predicting. Looking probably for an average of about 275. That is consistent with all of Northeast Ohio. Northeast Ohio is seeing a decline in enrollment. Actually, the nation is seeing a decline in enrollment. We are having less kids. As a whole, kids are very expensive, and they're getting more and more expensive. We're seeing a lot more one child or two child households than we have in the past.
And real quick, this is, projections are based on if like a kid's is enrolled in Auburn, right? Like so
These are state numbers, so they don't necessarily say 40.4.
Okay.
But they're the state numbers, and we use the exact same numbers to be consistent with kind of how they're presenting. That is another good point about where when we get into our 11th or 10th, but really a student's junior and senior year, they don't necessarily sit as much in the seats as they used to. So they have lots of options. They have Lakeland, or any type of college CCP class. We have about 100 students a year or so on a given year who attend Auburn for half the day, so they count as 0.5 for us. We are trying to include, again, have those students stay at Lakeland by offering CCP at Riverside. So I'm still appreciate and want to go to Lakeland or even do the online option for college classes as well, which is an option to them to participate in. And that is the higher institution experience.
Now, one question.
Yeah.
In this data, there's we don't have preschool, correct?
Does not include preschool.
Okay.
No.
All right, because, in some of the reading I've done, there's been, obviously an increase in funding for some areas, may not be us.
Yes.
I know that, for preschool funding.
Yes.
But the fact is that, it seems to continue to increase. So I don't know where that'll go in the future. I don't know what you hear. Obviously, for a district like ours, we don't usually qualify.
Criteria.
Yeah.
I'm not, there's a lot of question about how schools are being funded and what parts of schools are being funded. As of recent, now preschool is out of ODW and with a separate Ohio Department of Children and Youth. So they're in a whole different, and that happened with the last budget when they rearranged all the departments.
Okay, but as far as, let's say you have a family who would qualify, but we don't have a Head Start here or a preschool that typically, so they don't get any funding
They do not.
as an individual.
They may qualify for a Head Start program at Painesville City if they had one,
Okay,
or at a neighboring district, but for us, so we do not offer that program.
okay, I just wondered.
So in looking at some other of our update, now I did not include this in the strategic plan because this is fresh off the press and very preliminary. One of the things we are in the middle of is our strategic plan and our community survey. When I did reach out to the impact group to say, they said they get about 400 results right now. That's pretty good so far as a cross section. I go, presenting on facilities tonight, can you give me some information on the facilities questions overall from the community? And so they presented, and they sent me 2 of the slides from SurveyMonkey that specifically get to facilities. This is with, I believe, 400 responses. The first question is, in planning for the district's long-term facility needs, which approach do you prefer? Again, these questions were vetted, and also they are examples from the auditor of state guidelines. We're not doing anything that's against that. We made sure that we kind of stayed within that guidelines. And the first answer in green is focus on long-term. Long-term needs to come, even if they require significant initial investment. And that was about a 20% favorable response rate. The second response there is focus on short-term needs and maintain current facilities, postponing larger projects. That was a 7% favorable. And the third one is a balanced approach of both long-term and short-term. And again, this is the current survey that is still open. So obviously those results can be changed if we continue to send out. We're on our second push now for that survey, and I think it closes pretty soon. The second question regarding specifically all facilities, regarding our school facilities, which statement describes your current perspective on their condition and future needs? The first response, which had 72.29% of 253 of the 350 responses. our school facilities require significant renovation or replacement. The second one, the blue one, is I don't know what is needed regarding our school facilities, and that was 18%. And then the third one is our school facilities do not need renovation or replacement at this time, and that's about 9%. So really, truly, an overall public opinion. And again, this is preliminary. We'll get the final coming out, but we also heard it in a lot of the focus groups as well regarding facilities. So just to kind of where we are with that facilities plan. So kind of how we looked at the plan in terms of phase two, because phase two had a big shift to what it was. There was a lot of unknowns. There was a lot of, well, what ifs, and all of that. Really took a look at, okay, what does this campus look like? Addressing the campus in the 712 platform. What does the hybrid look like? You know, the hybrid renovation, we're calling it a hybrid because we are keeping the original, in this model, we keep the original campus, renovate it completely, keep the large spaces, and the campus is mostly large spaces on the first floor, and then build an additional wing off to the side in a phased approach with all new classrooms. Actually, the first phase would be to construct the new addition of the classroom space. That second phase is the renovation of the current high school and go in and renovate that. And then the third phase would be the demolition of John R. Williams School. That's the other end. We are also, Dr. Thompson and I are in meetings all the time. We're currently investigating and developing community partnerships. We have shared this with some of our community partners. There's a list slide later on who we have talked to and who we are planning to talk to. I'm going to set them up. And the interest is, it's very preliminary now. We don't necessarily have any resolutions of, yeah, this sounds good. But the interest is very peaked, very much. Oh, this sounds great. This sounds like something we would get into. And this is the area where we think you should go. So really kind of some in that direction to add to the Riverside One community campus. And then also the third part of this revision is when we are done with the building, we revision will move to a 5-6 intermediate building. The fifth grade is really working there. Our fifth graders should all be together, bring them together in fifth grade. It's still a 2 years gap, but that it fits an intermediate space. We can still do teaming. Teaming is great in the fifth grade. It works as well. Kind of put them in those teams to shift up. We would team all the way fifth through eighth grade. Eighth grade, seventh and eighth grade would be teamed up in the high school with that still middle school concept. But it would look different at the move, and we think that's a great solution to that.
One question
Yeah.
about the partnerships. When you talk about those, and I know there's different situations, but would that be where they would be housed here?
We'll get into
Yeah,
that.
so you have something
Yeah,
about
we have a
that.
whole, bear with us.
Because I
Yeah,
don't
we'll
want to
slide
get
on.
rid of facility
Yeah.
possibilities where they could be housed.
Yes,
like
we have a whole slide on some of the, just the
Okay.
initial things that we are discussing, and obviously
Okay.
there's more
Yeah,
from
because
it
I
all.
didn't get to see it ahead of time.
Yeah, so the biggest question is, how do we fund this? They don't just give these away free. So what are we looking at? So we did some costing estimates under the premise of a 1% earned income tax, EIT. $120 million borrowing, and I get to say this, and I'm so excited, in 2 tranches. Those are 2 separate $60 million borrowings. So I show you my financial knowledge tonight. Our assumptions would be with this model is we are going to pass that in November of 2026. We're also assuming an earned income tax does receive growth. It is not subject to.
House Bill 920.
So it does earn some growth, and then the borrowings would occur. The tranche borrowings would occur in 2028, and then 2030 would be when we would be ready for the funds. It's not that we're not working on it until then. There's a lot of work working into it, but that is when we'd be ready to sell the bonds and move forward. And that cost does include a 5% inflation rate for construction over time built in from TDA in their estimators. We are still working with TDA to get these a little bit more tied in and tightened up. They were very, I don't want to use the word raw because they're pretty professional. We want to make sure they're tight and they're neat along the way. So what does that look like from that? And to that, turn over to Dr. Thompson for a little bit, and I will click for him.
I thought I would give you a motivational, short little thing. I ran across this and I thought it was perfect for our situation. These are not, I didn't make this up. So the ship is for a reason, and so it goes, the captain stood at the fork in the river just before dawn. One path was familiar, calm, predictable, and safe for now. The other was uncertain, with rougher waters ahead, but it led toward a deeper channel that could carry the ship further in the long run. The crew waited quietly. They trusted the captain, but they also knew the choice wouldn't be easy. Staying the course meant comfort for today. Changing direction meant facing risk, but also the possibility of a stronger, more secure future. The captain took a breath, knowing that no decision came without consequences. Some choices aren't about avoiding difficulty, they're about choosing the difficulty and making it worthwhile. And with that, the course was set. So I would say that our course is clear. So I wanted to start with just a picture, just to resonate for a minute about what it could be. Could it be different looking than this? This is just an initial rendering. But it's exciting. And it would certainly move the district forward, that I think everyone will agree needs to occur. How and when, that may be disputed, but I don't think there's any dispute about the fact that the building has served the community well, but it's time to go to bed. And then this, I had to add this next slide in because it's Chris's favorite, Friday Night Lights, but it sure looks cool too. But I want that to be in your mind as we kind of move forward. Are the risks worth the reward?
I think one of the things as I talk about this, and we've shared this with some pretty key stakeholders in community as to what it looks like. Everyone has kind of said the same thing. You talked about, and when you listen to people, they value the building, they value the way that it looks. That keeping the field house is purposeful. There's a great story behind there. There's a great group of families who kind of put a lot on to make sure that field house became a reality, and how do we upgrade that and make sure that takes us into the future. And it is a unique, neat thing for Riverside that you have your home varsity sporting events at a separate building. It kind of has it's got a neat and a cool feeling to it. So continuing that tradition, as well as the high school. I have been remembered that there is a Pyramid of Remembrance tree on the front lawn, that we do need to move some of those and move some of those monuments. There was suggested that the Alumni Association would help us with a monument garden of some sort to kind of look at where we put those. So there are some, as you share and listen and kind of get some feedback, there are some small things, but the message is the same, that we heard them. The fact that the front doors will be operational and we actually a student drop-off is a huge win. The idea that we're using the front drive for student drop-off is also another thing that I think 75 years ago wasn't necessarily considered like it is today. So I think there are some really big wins along the way with this.
So I know there was a lot of questions. Will 1% income tax cover our operational and facility needs? And we, being in the administration, obviously want to make sure. So we've done our due diligence and our homework. What you're looking at right here is just, it is assuming passage of the income tax. The blue is the first $60 million issuance. The orange is the second $60 million issuance. And the green is the money that would be available for operations. So you're going to see this baked into a 5-year forecast too. Before we get to the 5-year forecast though, I want you to understand that we are staring in the dollars. It'll take till the third year. Some will say the second year, some say the third year. We took the most conservative approach, we did the third year. So we could be, I think we'll probably end up being better than what I'm forecasting, but what I'm forecasting is, I believe, to be the worst scenario. So, what is the impact on the forecast? So you're looking at the forecast, can I grab that for just 1 second? What you're looking at is the forecast with those dollars in. I want to bring a couple of things to your attention. So, in 2027, again, we want very conservative. We're showing a fairly nominal collection in 2027 on a 1% income tax. Year 2, it jumps up considerably, but in 2028, you'll also see that expenditures jump, because that's our first payment on our COPS. The first $60 million of COPS hits us on year 2028. It's a bit of a disadvantage because we don't have full collections yet, and it does impact us to some degree. And then you'll see in year 2029, we're at $14 million. The good thing is, it is increasing by, on average, we're going, again, conservatively, with 2% a year. I think it'll probably be higher than that, but that's what we went, 2%, to be conservative. And we start to hit the full collection. And then in I don't know what my problem is. Well,
It's on there, you can't see the green bar.
it's because I don't have another box. But you'll see to the right of the 14 million is the 15 million, but that's also hit with the big jump of the second COPS issuance coming on. Then if I were to go further out, you would see us start to then reverse our trend of deficit spending, because we're now finally bringing in the full amount to offset against the full COPS. So I think conservatively, we're at least 8 years, probably more like 10 to 12 years before we would need any additional funding. But I can forecast it out if you find it beneficial. The problem is there's several bienniums that are in that interim. There's so much I don't know that I don't want, 3 years from now, someone just come back and say, but you said, it's too hard to forecast right now. But I think it's pretty clear to see that while we still must be fiscally responsible, we still must keep our belts tight, it can be done with a 1%, and I'm confident of that. So we've also reached out, and we're working very hard to develop these partners. So here's what we're trying to explain when we say partners, what do we mean by that? So on March 2nd, we met with the YMCA, Mr. Bennett. You want to talk a little bit about that, Chris?
Yeah, it was a real great meeting. We talked to him, the first time we mentioned we had a facilities plan kind of up, and we did the first go-around of the community meetings and listings and kind of did the initial feedback. He reached out and said, well, what are you thinking? We're interested. We're always looking to do some upgrades to Central Y specifically. Have some thoughts. The partnership worked well with Willoughby Eastlake. How does that work? So we kind of said, yeah, that we would like to. We're very interested. There can be some wins on both sides. We want it to be a win-win. We met with him again. Had a lot of great conversations. There was and it was a lot of honest conversations. He expressed to us, he said, construction's expensive, and we said, don't we know it? It's not the same market as it was when they partnered with the Y. They also said they're in a time now where they're looking at some property and doing some studies and actually having some internal studies as to whether they can fundraise the funds or not. So that's a portion as well. Can they raise enough funds to build on the property something and to have that partnership? But he said, we're very interested. It's something, keep us in the loop as you continue to move forward, so we can have some of those continued conversations around that.
In these conversations, is there something specific they're interested in?
So with the Y, it was a partnership on the land and kind of capitalizing like they did, in Willoughby, where we look at putting an auditorium in for the community, indoor site, kind of really looking to relocate that central facility to a common space. And again, our goal is to bring the communities all together and make this the one community center of all of our communities, and put it in that context. I think there was a lot. There's also some concerns about. He mentioned too. There's concerns about location. We would have to bring in Lake Tran to see if they'd be willing to put a route up to the Y stop and all that, and we would have those as we continue to move through and investigate it. We do have a second meeting set with him. Just to kind of follow up and say where we're at, and he's going to come back with some of his information, where the information and the fact finding that they're doing, and just start to look at some timelines from that.
Yeah. So what we're giving, if, for example, in this particular situation, So let's say there's a competition pools build, which would be outstanding for our students. Our end might be, they construct it, we give them the land at no cost. They construct it, but we help offset their operational costs on the maintenance of the pool, for example. Obviously, the more people we can get interested in building simultaneously, we're going to get economy of scale on construction. So they're getting the land and some potential partnerships and the benefits of those, and that would be the reason to move on this for them.
And the preliminary concept is on the John R. side. After John R. is torn down, then it goes on that
It
side?
could be on the John R. side, it could also be on the back, off where the cell tower, we could pave that route into, we have 120 acres.
Yeah.
So it could be, I know they like to be closer to the main road because they like the exposure as well.
Yeah.
So
But it could be at the field
it
house.
could be tied to the.
It could be
as well.
doubling the size of a field house, and
Well,
there's a lot of possibilities, but no, we haven't gone that far. We would certainly put a committee together, have board representation, obviously, on that committee, and as we start to lay this out, but it's, just keep in mind, this isn't new, and Willoughby Eastlake isn't the first one to do it either. I mean, I went to other schools and saw how they did it. All this has been done.
I just talked to Mr. McIntyre, I think he's working on right now, where he said it's taken quite some time, because as they picture the building, then they have to have so much land for that building, right? And then there's some adjustments there, and it's constantly kind of being tweaked and worked on, until they come to that final agreement, right?
That's absolutely correct. I mean, the place you're at right now, as I mentioned at your last meeting, is right where you want to be, and that is to try to come to some agreement in concept to create a joint usage facility. What that is, where it goes, how it functions, what its specific operational needs might be. Those are the things that necessarily take shape over time. They have to, because there's no way to decide right now all of those specifics.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I'm assuming there is a benefit if the building were attached to this building. Like Willoughby's is attached, correct me if I'm wrong?
Willoughby is, yes, because there's a field house there with 4 basketball courts and a running track and the pool. All of that's all attached, but it's all very secure in terms of what you can access during the day and all of that. So yes, it is attached, and perhaps that's on the table. We don't know. I mean, where John R. sits, it could go that direction potentially. It could sit freestanding. I mean, I think from our perspective is just what makes the most sense and what is most cost effective for us. To be clear, we cannot legally, and nor would we use taxpayer dollars to support any of our partnerships. That money's for us and our kids, but how can we make that, we would have, for example, Willoughby Eastlake would have never been able to have an 8-lane competition swimming pool if it weren't for the partnership with the Y. Just couldn't have happened. So on March 11th, we met with University Hospital Systems. Tough first meeting, but they've come back. So you want to talk about
So
that?
our initial field turf sponsorship was through Lake Health. It had quite a sizable monetary donation along with athletic training services. University Hospital since that time has purchased the Lake Health system. We met with them to say our agreement is up. What are and just to have some preliminary discussions. They made it clear at that time that they are not sponsoring like Lake Health did with the monetary donation. They will still provide the training services, but the money in their statement at that point, the capital funds right now are going to put in the cancer center at Tri-Point. To which then we started to have some other conversation. Okay, we are looking. Yes, we're always looking for donations. That would be great, but we're also looking to partner. And who do we need to talk to partner with things? When we talk about what that looks like, when you look at where the monies are from the state talks about on-site clinics and even health centers and the Willoughby model of even or not Willow, I'm sorry, the Wycliffe, where Wycliffe put the community center in. And that gets some sponsorships as well, and if we can get a health system behind us and get somebody who sits on our campus, that has significant cost savings for us in the long term in terms of healthcare and healthcare costs, if we can kind of have that drive through that person, as well as we can use it as a training facility, using either the facility that way. We've thought of all different ways, like can we train like in a SNTA program, can we run something through that, like a career focus program on site, kind of help provide some services? Can we do a sports medicine training program? Can we have a sports medicine site and kind of like similar to what's in Mentor, put something out here on this end of the town to do rehab and perhaps provide a different option. So we do have a second meeting set up with them as well to have those discussions at a higher level as to not just turf or not just money to put your logo on, which would always be nice, but really truly how do we invest in, like we have with the class where we send students out, can we crank that up a little bit, and maybe the facility we send students to is in Tri-Point, maybe it's in our backyard right next to the field house, looking for that. Can we get an eye doctor or a dentist that kind of provide some services to our students who definitely need it, but then also will run their own practice out of it. And we kind of, again, we have land, we have space, we have significantly not, I would never say construction is cheap, but this would be cost beneficial on a large scale. If everyone's in on the same time and buying from it, that's a good benefit in terms of a cost of construction instead of building a small building. You're gonna get economy of scale, and we will be able to help provide that if they're on there. So that's where we're going with that. We'll keep the board informed as we continue to move. It is it's continuing to evolve, but to this point, we have not yet had the door slammed on us. So
We're coming
Yeah.
back.
So, can I ask a question? Have we approached the township, because
Yes,
it's a
you're-
zoning.
You're gonna see that.
Stay tuned.
You're gonna see that, it's coming.
I mean, like, when you guys did Willoughby, it was adjacent to commercial property, so it wasn't as big of a stretch as it might be here.
Well, those would, obviously, if, that would be an issue that would have to be addressed for sure. But we are working towards that, and, for example, one of the nice things that Willoughby does have is we put in a Minute Clinic in partnership then with, did you ever go to it, Camille? Did you ever go to the Minute Clinic?
Yes, absolutely.
It's great.
It was in my building.
Yeah, that's true, it was, that's right. But the way it worked itself out, it was staffed by a PA 3 days a week. We partnered with Mentor. Mentor used it 2 days a week, their staff. And if you went there, you didn't have to pay your copay. It was free. So it helped with curbing absenteeism, but at the same time was just super convenient. We were hoping that, instead of calling off, I got a head cold, and I'm going to be, I don't feel great, I could teach or I could do my job, but if I come here, I don't have to pay. And I'm already on in district. Might as well go to work. And then we opened that up to families in the community, and we partnered with an eye doctor, gave him that space for free, paid his utilities. He built it out, but in turn, he had to see our kids every Wednesday. We rotated grades through for eye care.
And even DCW mentions if you truly want to save on healthcare costs, bring them in-house as much as you can. This is an opportunity for us to bring those healthcare costs in-house, as well as have some benefits. So it's kind of all as a absolutely, not only is it beneficial, but it's also a cost savings or potential cost savings down the road for some of that.
Hit that one?
So April
that
22nd.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday. We set up a meeting. We asked Painesville Township and Concord Township to kind of, we actually reached out to all of our townships and trustees, Painesville and Concord, both said yes. Concord did not show for whatever reason. I have to follow up with Mr. Rose after. But Painesville Township, actually it was Josh Pennick showed up, sat down. We talked to Josh. We showed him the pictures. We showed him the plans. We kind of gave him the ideas. We said, this is our vision. we want to be that hub. I know as a township, you are under the same guise as us. Your residents are looking for things. What are those things and how can we help with that? Is it another athletic field or another turf field? Turf field space and field space in this township for our youth events is, I mean, our field
Premium.
is on, it goes from 2 o'clock when students are out till 11 o'clock at night, somebody's practicing on it. And then on the weekends, it's probably almost, I would say, 8 to 11 then. Every single event that gets there. If we can provide another field, they're not cheap, but if we can work with someone to help with partner with those fields for recreational activities and all that, that's really who wants to use it. That would be wonderful. We did talk about different opportunities, or even an entrepreneur who's interested to maybe put up a steel building and put some turf fields over it and kind of let us use it, but then have a field, kind of have a real true turf field house on there for all those softball or the Cedar Point model is a favorite. So if you Cedar Point built their sports, now we would not do it to that scale, but they built their sports complex and a huge turf field, and they host tournaments there every day of the week in the summer, and there's state-of-play tournaments, and with that, they give every single player one ticket to Cedar Point to be a part of it. Well, that player comes with families, and those families and they want to go to Cedar Point, so those families go to Cedar Point, so it's really kind of pushed money into Cedar Point. That's kind of some of the thought is those complexes are busy all of the time, and there's a true need for it. And so is there somebody who wants to use that, and does that want to look?
So we're putting in a roller coaster?
So, no, not,
No, just a water park.
no, we'll let you play in a tournament, and then you have to enroll in our schools. That might be.
The kids might like the water.
So we better go faster, we gotta pick it up or we're gonna be here all night.
Yeah.
So with the township discussions, I think where Ms. Grassi was going was zoning and stuff, so are you having some of those
We will have some of those
discussions
as
kinda-
well as we start to get to that point. The township's very friendly. They were he would,
Josh was great.
Well, the township might be friendly, but and even though the parents who live around here are mostly our district parents, I don't know if they want that commercial hub in their backyard, so.
yeah, those are the kind of conversations we have to have and what it looks like. And I think Josh was very open, but he was very,
He actually invited us
yes.
to the full council meeting.
Yeah.
So
we are headed, taking the show on the road. For the three
So
of us.
today-
Today we had a meeting with Adventure Subaru. Adventure Subaru was one of the first, when we did the original turf projects, they were very interested in sponsoring the turf. Ultimately, Lake Health stepped in and won that bid, but there's still some interest there. We kind of said, hey, we've got some short-term projects coming up that you may want to help us partner with and sponsor, and we have some long-term ideas as well. On the agenda tonight is the resurfacing of the basketball floor. We do have some spaces located on that floor if they wanted to if a company wanted to put their logo on there and help us fund that project and upgrades of the field house, we would definitely be akin to that and a tone of that, make sure that fits all of the legal. We run it through legal, obviously, but we make sure that partnership works in our favor as we go through. That's an easy way for us to kind of help offset some of these capital projects and costs. They're very interested. We are having some kind of packages we're putting together. We see a lot of opportunity for that and kind of like a premier sponsor or a sporting complex, as much as the back of the football scoreboard is a great billboard. If it's a car dealership and they wanted to put a car out front, that would be great. We've talked about even, do we want to look at raffling the car off? And how that looks. So we've got a lot of different ideas, and it was a great, kind of just a brainstorming session. So he is going back to take it back to the owner, and then we are continuing to kind of put some numbers behind that and kind of see what other schools are doing to get some numbers. We want to make sure they were interested first, get some kind of solid numbers and present those to them and see where we go with that. So more on that, and that's exciting.
Yeah, and that's how we closed the meeting was wanting us, he wanted some short-term and some long-term opportunities. The short-term, one easy short-term is the court, and a pretty easy longer term is we're 2 years away from turf, which you'll see in the PI forecast. It'd be nice to take that off our forecast. It's in there now, but I'd like to take it out, and maybe this is an opportunity, I don't know. May 2nd is our follow-up meeting, and we'll be, at that point, I'll get with you, Dan, with this. What I hope to come out and start getting something concrete from these meetings is Not that somebody couldn't back out, it's not a formal commitment, but it's a commitment to say, hey, we're willing to say on paper that we want to be a part of this, and we're going to work at this. And by the way, also, we asked the township at that meeting too for an endorsement of our levy as well, to put that to pen and let us campaign using that as part of our campaign as well. And he didn't commit to that, nor should he. He's one of three, but he was very supportive. And then May 4th, as our follow-up,
Follow-up for University Hospital to start talking about real concrete partnerships, what that might look like, and flesh out, and not just, hey, thanks, give us money to put it on the field, but how we really can work together.
and Melissa, thank you. Melissa knows a big wig.
I wouldn't go quite that far. She is, however, the person who helped us create the healthcare partnership that we have. Robin is her first name, and she's wonderful. They're very, very interested in community outreach and having UH be a part of the community that they exist in. So I have enjoyed working with her in the past, and she allowed a student to shadow her around one day when somebody in a regular department didn't show up. That's a pretty big deal, I think, when you're like the chief operating officer of a hospital system, to say, yeah, let this high school student follow me around for a day, because that's how important it is, I think, that these kids get this experience. So she's a great person to work with.
And for example, they may not have capital. Their capital may be tied up, but one thing they could do, potentially, is partner with us and provide us that PA to create that minute clinic, for example. So I think there's more than one way to address our needs. Doesn't always have to be, a significant capital outlay. And then the 19th, we are meeting with the Leroy trustees, and we're just going to present our financial situation, hopefully be able to present what we're doing in November, and also inviting them for any partnership ideas that they may have, a senior center, and there is a variety of things that we could do, and it's a great opportunity for them as well.
That concludes our report. I do ask that you read over the draft of the facilities plan. It is updated. It is also in the shared drive as well. And I would like to get it on an agenda for approval to kind of move forward in the post. So if there are questions, please send them out, and I will continue to communicate the changes.
I would ask that if there are questions, that you could send the questions to Dr. Ortino, but CC the entire board on it, so that in case somebody else had the same question, that way we all have the same information.
I can also run a doc of kind of the questions, answers, and how they've been addressed.
Great, thank you. All right, that brings us to unfinished business. The only thing that we had for unfinished business was the vouchers. That is on the agenda later, where we can have additional discussion, but I just wanted to see there was, I think, Ms. Brewster, you had asked for us to put that there.
Well, it's already on there, we'll discuss
Discuss it there? Okay. All right, any other unfinished business that wasn't submitted? Next is discussion of new business. The only thing here that I know we do have to talk about is adjustment of a couple meeting dates, I believe. I know I had a conflict with our June 25th meeting date, and I wanted to see if we could adjust that date, and I think there was one other date that we needed to adjust, correct? Was there somebody else?
Wasn't there a conflict in the schedule?
The September meeting is the same, as of now, is the same time it is a homecoming parade.
Oh, yes, the homecoming.
So I think the suggestion was either to push the meeting back an hour to allow for,
Mean start an hour earlier?
Later.
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 Oh, later, okay.
or start an hour earlier and ensure that you get done with the meeting in an hour.
That would be nice. I like that.
There's a lot going on. I don't think we want to commit to that right now. So let's take a look at June. would we be able to do the Thursday before, June 18th?
Yeah, we would just need to move the finance meeting maybe earlier in the week, so it's not the same day.
What does
Yeah.
it do with our year end? We usually have our June meeting as close to the year end as we can, because
What, the only thing I would ask is that perhaps we might need to have a special board meeting, because unlike years past, and you'll see it when I do my section of the upcoming dates, we've got to close the books, make sure everything's balanced. We've got to stop, obviously stopping purchase orders. Creating, our budgets are done, so that's done, but we still have to create the appropriations, which will be easy because the budgets are done. Formulate a 5-year forecast and do all that in June.
So, one
So-
of the other things I was gonna suggest to everybody is that we just, at one time we had meetings in between as placeholders on our calendar, just in case we need them. And since we have so much going on, I was gonna see if anybody had any concerns with adding that placeholder, just in case we need a meeting to.
I
to do some
hope I
kind of
can be
business.
ready by the 18th. That'd be my goal, to be ready by the 18th to do appropriations and final, in our 5-year forecast.
we have to do final appropriations, right?
Yeah, because
Right.
there is no temporary
Correct.
anymore, right?
Well,
Do you wanna do the 23rd?
I mean, I'm just asking, we have to finalize out the ones for 2026
Right.
fiscal year, and then we have to have new ones for 27. When are those due? July? Or did they move them to July 15th?
Those are in July, so, but they're early July, so it's before our board meeting. So I kind of feel like my plan was to have everything done in June. And I think we can still make it. Where's Mike? Mike, are you panicking over there? Thank you.
With the 30th?
The third.
That would be our challenge, that we might need that extra week, right?
Only for vacation. Only
The
for
trial-
ours.
Yeah.
Just in case, yeah.
The 23rd,
Yeah.
you
Come
mentioned?
back.
The
So-
23rd, yeah?
That works for me.
Or the 2nd of July, so,
I think you have to have a meeting before the end of June, because I
Yes,
think
we
we
do.
have to,
okay,
we
so
have to
the
close things out.
So the
23rd?
23rd would work.
23rd?
23rd?
When are you leaving?
I leave the 25th.
23rd?
Plenty.
Sorry.
Thank you.
And that
Good
works
reminder.
to keep, Jimmy Lee, that we can keep the finance meeting where it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
you sent that already, just get phone calls.
All right, so
I
we,
just changed it.
oh, all right, and then September is the other one?
He's not
All right, so September is September 24th. Do we want to move that to the Thursday before or the Tuesday?
What's that?
So the 24th is homecoming, it's the homecoming parade.
Oh, that's the.
Is there a
Yeah,
problem
so-
moving it just the day before?
Or pushing it an hour back if you're good with that.
I think we're gonna be,
I wouldn't.
People
Yeah, that's a
lot.
Our meetings are never short. So
Not-
the
They're
22nd, no, the
Come on.
22nd works for me. That's a Tuesday.
Did you?
Does that work for you guys?
That'll work. 22nd?
It's the first day of fall.
Are you
I don't want to think about that right now.
Wait,
I need to have something.
No way. Slow that roll
Or
down.
Labor Day week.
okay.
22nd.
And then,
Do you want to put on mid-month meetings?
is everybody on the board okay to just, it's, again, the block,
Older.
it's a holder, placeholder on our calendars in case we need some kind of special meeting in between. So they would take a look and say, here's this one and here's that one, and then put it in between.
Sure. In the month of June?
I would say all the way through December, just put them there,
Oh, each
just
month.
placeholders, yeah.
I see.
I mean, I think it's a good idea simply because if there's just so much going on.
So we might not use them, we might use them, it's just keep our calendars kind of,
Yep.
okay.
Not to mention if you need to have a lengthier discussion
All right, so I'll throw
about
the wrinkle
certain
in the first
topics, I
one.
think it's helpful.
Our meeting is May 21st, which is earlier because of graduation on the 28th. So if we wanted to do it, it would be either May 7th or May 14th, and we would have kind of two back-to-back.
I cannot do the 14th.
Well, May 7th, you have Melbridge meeting.
Oh yeah, so they're both out. So May's out. The Thursdays are May are out, so.
Okay, so let me ask another question for May then. Are we gonna have to have a special meeting for because we don't have a construction price yet?
Well,
We will probably have to have one
We're
as
gonna
soon
have
as
to
we
have a special
get it.
meeting.
We're gonna
Yeah.
have to schedule that one. It's probably at 7:30 in the morning type meeting to come in and just get it.
That's
Do you
done.
have any
probably easier.
timeline on
In
the?
the morning.
Still waiting.
we need to light a fire.
Yeah, we're working on
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
All right, so May we'll just go with the GMP when we get it
Yeah.
and try to get something special
Yeah.
on the, okay.
I will work to get some.
And then we can go through the rest of them. We'll send out the dates, just make sure there's no conflicts with anybody that we're gonna block and that they're okay. Okay. All right. There was no other new business that was provided. Is there anything else that anybody wanted to discuss? All right, so that brings us to our committee and liaison reports. First up is Buildings and Grounds Operations Committee and Strategic Plan Liaison, Ms. Rossi.
It's gonna be me first. We had a meeting of Buildings and Grounds on Tuesday. We talked about many of the items that are in our board agenda today. The first area that we talked about was a parking area for the house next door, who has insufficient parking for their needs and for people who come for registration and whatnot, and we got a price on that. I did not see that on this agenda.
It's in-house and there'll be two separate, so it's not a combined. There's an equipment rental and then there is also the stone and both of those are under.
That's the gravel.
Yes, the
Is,
gravel.
is the rental,
The rental is under as well.
and that is included in here? No,
In
or
the
was that
buildings
the
and grounds
level?
total price, yes.
So are you asking, is it on the agenda?
I'm just asking you, is any rental stuff on this agenda?
There is a blanket PO for rental stuff and I believe that that's where they are coming out of.
All right, so I'll ask that later. So we talked about that, and so that should alleviate some of the issues that they have over at the house. The next item we talked about was the HVAC systems in the John R. Band room and the high school choir room, the technology main server room. We're going to be recommending here that they be replaced with the same types of units that we have in our lecture hall now, and that the maintenance department will be able to do that work, and so that will be helpful. The next item we talked about was the field house floor, and we had two quotes to review for refurbishing the field house floor. I believe on the agenda is the Ohio floors, because they can schedule that in this year, whereas the other quote couldn't get to it till next year. So we'll be seeing that done. I think the issue with that was we'll have to schedule it appropriately because of timing. They need, if I recall correctly, 7 days?
7 to 10
7
days.
to 10 days without anybody on that floor. So
I did get confirmation this is the first time that floor has ever been stripped and redone since the field house was opened.
So we'll just have to work around that, and I'm sure that we'll be able to accommodate that depending on when that is.
They're already
So,
working on,
I'm sure.
they're excited.
So that'll be nice. They're going to sand and take that all the way down to the bare wood, and so we're gonna be getting the updated logo and then on that floor as well, so that will be nice. The next item that we had on here was to talk about basketball hoops in the field house. We are gonna revisit that at our May 19th Buildings and Grounds meeting. We were talking about the removing units that we have currently and having some permanent units installed, and whether or not we wanted to do just the main hoops, side courts, whatever. So they're gonna continue to flush that information out, bring it back to the May 19th Buildings and Grounds meeting. We talked about the playground mulch. We may not do Buckeye yet. So the playground mulch is on the agenda here, and we have to do that every single year. We may not do Buckeye yet because it just depends on the projects that we have going on over at Buckeye and when we do that. So we talked about that. Then we spent quite a significant amount of time talking about parking lot maintenance. We are going to move forward with a slightly more expensive, if I'm not mistaken, we're moving forward with a slightly more expensive one on this agenda. And that's because they're gonna do a little bit more grinding of our parking lots. So that's coming in at 85,000, and some change. It doesn't include Lamouth. It includes Lamouth, but it doesn't include a redo of the entire Lamouth parking lot. That would be really, really expensive. So that's just filling potholes. We did have the conversation about, what about the Lamouth parking lot? It needs some serious work, and that's some serious money. Yeah, it's in the report. It's just really, really expensive to redo a parking like that, a lot like that, and talking about what the plan would be for that parking lot, perhaps expanding that parking lot. It needs additional space. What do we do with the gravel lot that's next door? There's a lot of conversation that goes into the new parking lot. So in the meantime, we were gonna have all the other parking lots re-ground, striped, seal coated, and have those kinds of things done. So we talked a lot about that. And then again, that 85,000 does not include the striping that comes along with that. So that is also on this agenda at a cost of 15,000. The next item we talked about was a walking path at Lamouth. And we don't think we've made a decision on that one yet. We are considering having some conversations with some of the community organizations that use that property and seeing if we can piggyback on some of each other's projects to get that done. And the reason we wanted to consider that is because there's a lot of mud back there, and those kids come in and out of, now that we have recess going on over at Lamouth, and all that mud comes into the building, and so we need to have a walkway. We talked about sanitary lines, storm sewer lines, and grease traps. That was a fun conversation. And so we have something on the agenda so that they're going to be coming in, and that's an annual expense that we have people come in and clean those out every single year. We talked about what we're not doing right now yet is new vehicles. We talked about what kinds of vehicles that we need, and just going through some future planning to try and figure out how we can manage to purchase new vehicles for our departments. We discussed a concrete walkway for over by the CTX building, which I believe is on the agenda. We did decide to move forward with that one. We have a lot of things that we talked about yeses and a lot of things we talked about no's. So correct me if I'm not saying these correctly. The walkway over at the CTX wing, it would come from the bathroom area, that hallway that connects to the kitchen and, to the cafeteria and all those areas.
To the main doors, it will be parallel kind of directly into that goes into the night entrance.
It would come all the way down to the parking lot, and it would be handicap accessible. They would have to move the bench that's there out by the parking lot. So just so that and it would be wide enough and make everything really nicely accessible. So that is on the agenda.
That included a bike rack? Is that?
Yes.
And then we talked about some of our current roofing needs, although there is nothing on the agenda to address those right now, but we will be doing some additional work to look at some of the areas in our district that have some leaking roofs. And then also on the agenda is the purchase of band instruments, which when we purchased them previously, is probably at least 10 years ago, they were financed, and this time around, we're going to be doing it in stages, so we're not doing it all at once. I think I covered it all. Did I get it?
Okay, and I just wanted to ask two things. The Lamouth soccer field in the past has come up about drainage, because you mentioned drainage, and the bleachers. Has that all been addressed?
The bleachers have been repaired. We have talked about the soccer field. We actually repaired and did a significant investment in that field. The issue is that we just can't keep people off of it, and if you can't keep people off of a grass field, you can put as much money as you want in it, it's gonna just go. You can't keep it. And that's our problem.
It's just we hear about it every year.
We do, and we keep saying that, well, there are other options to not allow them to use that. And so we have to weigh out we want our communities to be able to, our community groups to use our field, and field use is, especially now, is a very big item. And when you're out now, the fields are wet, they're wearing cleats, they're stopping on those things, and they are tearing up the grass, and depending on the sport that's on it, not that I'm against or lacrosse on a field, the goalie's always kicking up the spot, so they have better grab, they're stopping a lot. It's just different the way that they use different fields, and that's, I mean, that's a part of it. So in the initial, when we talked about our plan, one of the things we talked about, this community could definitely use a second multi-purpose turf field and turf area for them. And we know that just because it's Northeast Ohio, and they start in February, if not January, out on those grass items. And it's, as soon as it unfreezes, it gets torn up. And there's no time for it to recover and grow.
So-
And we also talked about you mentioned vehicles, about having smaller shuttles, like if there's only a couple of students.
So we have
or-
vans,
Or sports.
That's a transportation issue we did we're finally able to get 3 8-passenger, 9 total vans that we are starting to utilize more and more. We are looking to even put those into our fleet next year for some of our transportation routes. Working with ESC of Northeast Ohio to kind of come up with some different strategies for not only routing, but also transportation to be more efficient. We hear that too. So to be more efficient, and also to make sure that we can be more economic.
Okay.
So some of the things that we talked about with vehicles is the fact that we need to replace the box truck. The box truck we have is
It's how the other way
ancient. We need to replace a box truck. We have a pickup truck that needs to be replaced. You know, we'd like to have a 12-passenger van that they can use for their HVAC and plumbing needs, that they can retrofit for that. A large pickup that, because we have 2 trailers that need to be towed, especially when we go to band and football. The band trailer specifically needs a large vehicle in order to tow that. It's really heavy. And so we are without vehicles to tow some of these things. And so it's not on the agenda yet, but it's going to be coming because these vehicles need to be replaced.
You'll see it I'm gonna show the PI and show you where we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how can we stay within our budget constraints yet meet our vehicle needs. And we think we've accomplished that. Maybe not at the rate that Rich would like,
Yeah.
but adequately.
So in conjunction with the buildings and grounds, I took that and looked at our board agenda, and just for public knowledge, we are approving $327,299 on tonight's agenda. That's buildings and grounds related stuff. And by my calculations, at least I assumed, and I could be wrong, almost 255,000 of that is going to come out of PI, and about 72 comes out of general fund, just by what I was making some assumptions, based on what those things are used for and if they're long-term and whatnot. And I just want people to be reminded that's a lot, and that's every year we're spending those kinds of dollars. It's not like this stuff is things that are special. You know, bleachers have to be repaired and they have to be inspected, and playground mulch has to go down. It's not like we cannot do these things and skip a year, so
It's cost of doing business.
it's expensive. Yeah, it's expensive. That's all I got. Strategic plan, I have nothing, because we're not there yet.
We're in the middle of it.
Yeah, you're in the middle of it, and
Yep.
so we'll wait to see
Answer the surveys.
what happens, yeah.
I did reach out today, again, to our community partners, community leaders, all the townships, to try to set up a focus group for them instead of getting.
I told you to stop.
I don't either.
I told you, oh my God, that's.
Yeah, to reach out to set up a roundtable that we run by Impact Group, or a focus group for them from Impact Group, instead of calling 4 or 5 of them. Try to get them all into a room together, so really looked at who we are bringing in. So I will keep you updated on that as well.
Okay. We did talk about that.
We did.
All right, that brings us to Curriculum and Programming Committee, Booster Organization Liaison, Mr. Audino.
Yes, thank you. We had our meeting back on Wednesday, April 15th. A lot of the topics will be, I'm assuming, presented in Dr. Bertino's superintendent report, and some of which were presented in the special report, but I'll hit on some of them lightly. The open house for the CTX is Monday, May 4th from 5 to 7 p.m. We discussed the strategic plan. Like I mentioned, Dr. Bertino kind of hit on that. It sounds like now we're up to over 400 responses Just last week, we were at 180, so that's over doubled. And then there's also one going out separately to staff. What's the time frame on that?
And that was out Monday.
Oh, it came out this week.
Monday.
Monday, and we'll keep it open for 10 days or so, for 2 weeks, so we'll send it out, we'll send a reminder out next Monday.
Great. And the first draft of that strategic plan will be visible to the administration in June, and then a presentation to us at the board come August. Then we moved on to the CPM purchase, which is a math curriculum for 6th to 8th grade, eventually, hopefully rolling it up to the other grades.
No, we
next
are
year.
rolling.
We are
It is
rolling this coming year.
happening. Yep.
The
So you'll
purchase
see
is
that.
Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra.
Okay, great. Then we moved on to the Auburn Career Center, which is an agreement that we're coming to with them, specifically a senior-only program that will take place and will include the CTX program, our construction and welding programs, and the financial terms are still to be determined, but being worked out to kind of make it financially beneficial to both groups. Then we discussed there's some money left over in our CTE grant, and we're using that to partner with a company called Roundtable Learning, who provides us with VR headsets that comes with programs specific to supply chain, logistics, forklift training, just some avenues for our students to see future career opportunities, and also how VR can come to life in a lot of different unique ways in K-12.
It's so cool.
Yeah. And then we discussed, Mrs. Ritt shared with us a student services update. We had our annual licensing visit specific to preschool back in late March. A lot of positive feedback in terms of our programming and organization. No surprise there. Mrs. Ritt and the school has also set up a smooth transition in moving our license to Riverview to house our permanent, or at least semi-permanent location for preschool moving forward. And then also the Ohio Department of Children and Youth. Every 5 years they renew, or review I should say, the rules for preschool programs. And in their review, we see no significant changes this year, but what changes there are very little. They will be effective this July. And that's my update for Programs Committee. And then, as I mentioned last month, the Booster Liaison meeting only happens once a quarter, so maybe a month or two from now, I'll have an update.
You talked about the CTX grant. Where are we on the reimbursement process for getting the money for that?
Well, Mr. Patrizzi, would you like to jump in? We just had this conversation
Oh,
this
we
morning.
did?
That's why,
Okay.
yeah, he and I were just talking about the money that we have left.
Because that's a spend and reimburse, correct?
Yeah, so right now, we have been reimbursed for everything for the construction component of that, which was the majority of the, and we're in the process of, have been spending some of the supply material, and obviously continuing to do that. We cannot, ask the state for reimbursement until the check's been paid, so we're keeping up with that. Like I said, we're still got a little bit yet to go to spend that now.
But we're doing it every month or whatever, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't ordered anything in a while, and part of what a conversation that we just had is a lot of the money was allocated to supplies and we didn't have anywhere to store those things. So now we are trying to figure out how we're going to store. We also found out that we can potentially expend some of that money through 27, which means we don't have to try to store
yeah.
$25,000 worth of materials, do you know what I mean, at a time. So we're working on a couple of things.
Did we have any areas in that grant that we didn't spend the money in? If we had to, could we move it somewhere else?
What do you
Within
mean?
the grant itself? I don't know, like.
We have moved some things, but I think the way we have it allocated, it's gonna end up being where we need it to be. It was pretty close.
And the district did add money to that, didn't we?
To the construction.
Yes, to the
Yeah.
construction, not to any
Yeah.
of the other stuff, to the construction piece, yes.
Okay. So when does it stop? Like, when do you have to spend everything down?
June 30th to 27 is the last
Okay.
date, and then we have to report by September. There is a checkpoint this September that we will file some paperwork with them. They'll review where we're at, just to make sure we're spending it according to what we said we were, and as long as that's a go, they'll roll it in next year, and given where we're at right now, I don't see that being an issue.
And I know we applied for additional funds but didn't get it, but is there any, like, another round or other considerations for anything, or are we pretty well set?
I have not heard that there's going to be any other money
Okay,
released.
okay,
So,
I just wondered.
yeah. If there is, we'll take a look at it, or someone else.
Or someone
By
else.
we, I mean,
The royal
you.
we.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll take a look at it.
She's already in the detachment stage.
Not really.
Come back as a grant writer.
I just want to spend the money, I don't really want to write the grant, I like big ideas.
Just
and
want
spending
to
the
come
money.
up with them and
Yeah,
spend
yeah.
it.
Somebody else wants to do it.
All right, that brings us to policy committee and legislative liaison, Ms. Brewster.
Okay. The policy committee met on February 17th, and it was probably a record short meeting of 14 minutes. So just want to let you know, Dan did a great job, our legal rep, creating the policy on public participation. We did have some discussion about that, and, there was some concern or more discussion needed by the board regarding, the option to allow additional time past the 3 minutes, and what criteria that would mean, how that would be in practice. And also about 2 board members, talking among us, we were concerned about whether we wanted to strike that. I don't know. It was part of the conversation. It seemed like there was some redundancy and some of the things were already spoken about, and whether we needed to speak about it some more. So that is already, I think we have a copy of that. It's a first read. Thank you, Dr. Rotino, for sending that out. And, just look at that. But Dan, did you want to say anything else about that particular one?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So there's a provision that I added for your consideration that would allow the board, in exceptional circumstances, to extend the 3-minute speaking time. And that determination of what is exceptional or not could be made either by the board president or by the agreement of 2 board members. Again, this is just a discussion, draft kind of approach to just making sure we raise this issue and that you have a chance to discuss it and decide what you feel is the right approach. Exceptional circumstances essentially means if there's something that occurs that's unavoidable or unforeseen. So someone is speaking, for example, and perhaps we lose power, or perhaps they're interrupted, unfortunately, by maybe a member of the audience. If there is something that happens that's unavoidable, then you would have the ability to extend their time. It's not meant to be one of those exceptions that swallows up the limitation or the whole rule. It's supposed to be a very narrow type exception. That said, if the board feels, that 3 minutes is 3 minutes and that's that, then we could easily take that language out. Another point to consider is if there are exceptional circumstances as an exception or a basis for extending the 3 minutes, who would make that determination? It doesn't have to be the board president. It doesn't have to be agreement of 2 of the board members. It could be an agreement of the majority of the board. You could require that it's unanimous. So all the options are available to you. I'd be happy to talk about it further. Answer any
Julie,
questions.
did you want to say anything else about it?
No, I think you covered most of it.
That last part you mentioned, forgive me, can you repeat that again? Are you saying that, because my biggest hiccup in how we got to today is that I don't care for the fact that the board president can turn off the ability to have public speaking.
That's been changed.
Okay, and that's one of the strike.
Yes, yeah, we struck out all the discretionary decision-making of the board president. There was language about suspending the rules, that's been struck. There was language about just the general discretion of the board president to oversee the public participation portion of the meeting, that's been struck. The policy in its current revised format does require public participation at every meeting, whether that's a special meeting or a regular meeting, at every meeting. I believe that reflects the discussion that the board had during our retreat a month or so ago.
Is a committee meeting considered every meeting?
A committee meeting is not. This is a meeting of the board.
I will say, after you kind of define the exceptional circumstances, does make sense. Would it be beneficial to define it somewhere in the document?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I mean, maybe even just using the word unavoidable would be better than exceptional.
Yeah, that's a good one.
To try to make sure that we're talking about a very narrow exception and frankly, probably a very rare exception.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we just
no-
didn't want to create a situation where somebody didn't finish making their points, and they might not have been aware that there was 3 minutes, but the fact is, we usually say that. But then, if you let them, then somebody else might feel slighted because they didn't get to finish making their point. So we didn't feel that we wanted to create that situation.
Yes.
So,
I feel like if I define it a little bit more
Yeah.
with more specificity, that will help avoid that situation where somebody feels like they should just get an extension because of other reasons. The circumstance I always look at too is, somebody who's not used to addressing a public body in an open session, maybe starts out with some introductory remarks, maybe a little anecdote about what happened to them on their way in, maybe a few compliments of the board, and then all of a sudden, half of their time is gone. And so, what this version of the board policy is attempting to do is to empower all of you to enforce these rules and to jump in and to say, hey, please know you have 3 minutes. So you might want to move to the substance of your comments. Also, anything around confidentiality. So if somebody is speaking about their own child, they can be reminded by any of you that this meeting is being recorded, and that recording lives on for some time, and so you might want to be careful about what information you disclose. So that's another important principle embedded in this new version.
Question on number 3, which I know is pretty much a continuation of what's been. It says that participants must first be recognized by the board president and then will be requested to preface their comments by an announcement of their name, address, and group affiliation. Perhaps we should consider the 3 minutes beginning at the conclusion of that, since it's our request that they preface their comments with that.
I think that's a great idea. So not to start the timer until they've introduced themselves and gone through those preliminary remarks.
so at this point, just reread, but you'll send us something to review, and then, obviously, because we're changing the text, it's going to be a first read next time. But if you have any input, or just taking Lori's suggestion, just copy the rest of the board on your thoughts, so we see the same thing if we're making the same point.
Yeah, number 9, specifically dealing with, I guess more or less 9A. Is that any board member can terminate? Is that how you read that, or is that the presiding officer or the majority?
Let me just catch up to where you are.
It says the board may interrupt, warn, and/or terminate participants' period of participation when they make comments that are repetitive, slanderous, disruptive, profane, obscene, and so forth.
Yes, this is meant to be a shared responsibility.
Okay.
So, yes, I could imagine a circumstance where someone would say, as a board member, I think we need to terminate this person's comments, their public participation based on the comments they just made that were slanderous. But then another board member may have a different view of it, and the board will have to sort that out. But ultimately, it's for all of
We
you.
would stop the timer at that point.
So we want to make it specific, because I see that getting a little gray. Perhaps if there was a policy of the board may, with a vote of 3-2 of some, a majority of the vote. I also am a little worried about one of the words, the word repetitive. Slanderous, disruptive, I think most people have a unique, not a unique definition of that. Repetitive, I worry about. Because there are oftentimes, take the face mask policy. If that were the case and this policy existed then, of the 50 people who spoke, 49 of them could technically have been asked not to speak. So I'm worried that the word repetitive might be a little too ambiguous.
Understood. Yeah, let me work on that. I do want to try to capture the concept that if there is someone who's using public participation to essentially delay the proceedings, I want to create some ability for the board to prevent that from happening. So you could imagine somebody who has prepared a statement, and let's say it's 2 sentences long, and they just keep reading the same 2 sentences for 3 minutes, which I've seen. I want to try to give you some ability to say, please move on from that. Feel free to use your whole 3 minutes, but not to just say the same thing over and over.
Okay,
But, yes,
hearing
I'll work on
that makes more sense, but hopefully we can make it a little more clear as to, do we have to have a consensus among the board to do 9A, excuse me.
Yes, I will add that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and then the other policy was on food services, and that was per recent legislation, but, kind of got a little humorous there because some of it had to do with the types of food being served, the intent, I know you're gonna laugh. No, it's not fake meat or fake eggs, it's real, like.
Mislabeled meat.
Yes,
And eggs.
so that's what that's addressing. And there were really no choices on that, it was pretty fixed, so. So that was pretty much where we are on policy. And then as far as legislation update, that's moving target. We're still monitoring what's going to be happening with Senate Bill 19. That's the one where students would be having remediation in math and what that would mean for our staff, and hopefully not be so cumbersome or that it would cost additional funds for our building or for our school district. And then there also is House Bill 715, but we talked about this before. It's about strengthening requirements for charter schools, but that comes up all the time and usually nothing happens with that, but we'll keep an eye on it. And then in our recent board magazine, there was an article about what to expect from the State House in 2026. Nobody knows from one day to the next, but the thing with this 136th General Assembly, again, is just monitoring what they're looking at, and mainly they're talking about the capital budget, and so we'll see how that all comes out. Right now, we did receive proceeds from, the reevaluation of property, but we know that there was a change in the legislation that allowed the commissioners to take, 1.2 million of?
1.6, I believe.
Was it 1.6?
Our total's 1.6.
1.6.
Yeah, we lost half that so far.
Yeah, and so what does that look like going forward? Are they gonna continue to do that, or are we, are we going to be receiving any funds, or will our hands be tied further by the state? And then, let's see, there was also a good article on policy management, which gets into the legislation, because when it's legislated, then we're looking at it from a policy standpoint. But it really got into, you know, what you must do, what you can't do, what you may do, and those are the decisions we make when we're forming policy. And then there was a legal deadline calendar for board presidents. I know we all get the same calendar, or this same publication. And it was funny because it was by Jennifer Hardin. But I didn't know if you had received this or got to read it, but it went month to month on what's due when. And, you know, it's for board presidents. So, and then it also talked about a year in the life of a school board member, and month to month what you're looking at as a school board. So I thought that those two articles were really good. And if you didn't get a chance to see them, I have them, or we could put them out there online. Okay?
One other thing for legislative, you know, the capital budget that is coming up, and they do that on the off cycle of the biennium budget and the operating budget for the state. It behooves us to take a look at how we can get a project funded if we're gonna be doing community partnerships. Because if you can have legislators be behind a community project that's going to benefit the entire community, you can access some of those capital project funds in the capital budget. And when you look at the list of people that were awarded, I looked at them 2 years ago, because I think we were gonna request some for my office, but then that, it didn't come to fruition. But it's interesting to see what gets funded and what the purpose of those buildings are. So if we're gonna move forward with some community integrated things on this campus, maybe we should be talking to the right people.
Could you turn us on to some of those contacts that you might know about?
It's, you have to, you get sponsored by a legislator. that
So
would-
just,
yes.
just our local legislator is what you're suggesting?
I know that Wycliffe did it as part of their community center, and I was, and they're,
Joe.
You can
yeah.
get some funding, and it might not be a lot, but anything
Joe
is
is
better than
also
zero, right? I
under
mean,
drain.
their former superintendent is now Reniola rep, and he was talking with me a little bit about it as we move forward and to help us with some of that. So we are, it is on the radar.
It's-
Not for this cycle, obviously.
Yeah, but it's-
it
but-
would be- as we move forward, that was definitely engage him as we start to think of what we are going to look forward to.
Just thought I'd put that out there.
No.
Okay, so that's all I have. So do you want to pass that down?
Real quick, did I see that the K through 5 additional playground time or additional recess time passed?
I did not see that.
No.
I have not heard that yet either.
I've not,
For some reason, I thought I saw
they are
that
not in
somewhere.
session right now,
Okay.
so I've not heard that. I do have an update tomorrow with a laundry list of bills and where they are,
Okay.
but no, it was K-8.
I don't think they
K-8.
discussed it yet.
It was
Okay.
K-8. I think they put it out there, I know the governor is in favor of it, and I think it's a nightmare.
Yeah, somewhere I thought I read that, so I'll look to see if I can find where I read that at,
Yeah,
but.
I will ask tomorrow in the legislative update.
Yeah, I have not heard anything either. It'd be nice to know before I'm getting ready to do the schedule for next year. Just saying.
Well, an hour of recess at John R. will be a challenge.
An hour is a long time. We did used to take them
used to
down.
take them to the
Remember,
gym.
we used
I
to
do
let them
remember
run
that.
around
Yeah.
like knuckleheads, because it's good for eighth graders.
All right,
It is. Anybody who's ever had an eighth grader in their house knows I speak the truth.
So next up is a superintendent's business advisory liaison report. We did not have a meeting last
May
month.
14th is the next scheduled meeting. I'm going to try to coordinate that and maybe change that to the senior capstone production or senior.
Right. But a couple other things that'll be coming up. May 7th is the, what are we calling it? The truck?
Oh, check out the truck.
Check out the truck event. And I think you had a lot of good items or a lot of good people that are going to be participating, right?
Yes, so we have about 25 vehicles that will be there from a vast number of professions. So the drivers and the operators will be there with the vehicles. We will take all of our second graders. We've invited a couple other schools to maybe come in the afternoon, so we're still kind of in the works for that. But I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be really fun for second graders to get some exposure, some career exploration at a young age in a fun hands-on way for them. So the fairgrounds has been very gracious. They have allowed us to use the property. That's where we're doing it at no cost. So it's really been a very cool thing to set up. I'm really excited. It's gonna be fun.
What's the t-shirt say again?
We haven't decided on that yet.
Oh,
Dr. Thompson.
now you don't change.
Well, go ahead.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
Okay. I thought it was good. So anyway, that is happening.
And then
I'm
May
excited.
13th, we have the Career Quest, right?
Career Quest, which will be for our fifth graders, that will take place up here. We will bring fifth graders by school up here, and their focus is more of a, why do I have to learn this kind of thing. So we have stations are kind of centered around, there's 6 of them, around subject areas. So there's a math station, an English station, fine arts, that kind of thing. And within each station, we have 3 activities that directly relate to standards that they have learned in 5th grade in that subject area. So for example, one of the math stations is an HVAC station. So they will measure various size boxes that we are modeling after houses, or, you know what I mean, buildings. And then they will calculate the volume, and they will decide which air conditioning or furnace unit would go in that building. So that's why you learn volume. That's one of the professions that uses that standard. So they will be here, each building will come in a rotation of about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours up here. We'll all be centered. It'll also be kind of a cool opportunity to show our 5th graders the CTX wing, some of the things, the welding lab, get them kind of through the high school a little bit, and one more touch point to get them used to being up here. So,
Thank you.
fun stuff.
All right, and then now that brings us to our superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. So, I can't believe it's only a month, but on April 4th, we had the annual Easter egg hunt. This is the first one in a long time where it was a gorgeous day. You'll notice they're hunting in shorts and not winter coats, and there's no snow on the ground. Because of that, I believe it lasted 2.5 minutes. They were very thorough egg hunters along the way. It's a great thing, and thank you to all the families who attended and worked really hard to set it up. Also, this is super cool. Congratulations to our sophomore Ava Pasalacqua, I knew I would screw that up, for winning Lake Tran's bus wrap art design. The theme this year, Lake Tran works with Avery Dennison and puts a local challenge out to schools every year to design a bus amongst the theme. This year's theme was America 250. Ava dethroned Mentor. The last couple winners have been Mentor, and Ava took it over. Lake Tran came out with the bus on a cold day. It was very cold that morning.
So cold.
On April 7th, the bus was displayed. One of the things they noted in her bus design is that it was actually hand-drawn and not necessarily digitally designed, and they thought that was really cool. Ava got to walk around the bus, and Dad was there and so proud of everyone. I believe she may even take the bus to homecoming or prom. We're not quite sure.
It's also going to be a check out the truck, by the way. This is one of the vehicles that the Lake Tran is sending.
So thank you to Lake Tran for that. Really great thing. RHS Job Fair, every year we host a job fair for juniors and seniors, exposing them to local businesses. More than 120 students attended to learn about local job opportunities between 20 local businesses and organizations. Really great event, and thank you to Mrs. Molinas, the assistant principal at the high school, for organizing that for our students. This is really cool. Congratulations to Mrs. Poggi. She was inducted this month into the Ohio Thespians Hall of Fame for all the work she does for the group. This honor it celebrates her distinguished career to the Ohio Thespians and recognizes her enduring impact on theater in our state. And I believe this is her 21st, or was her 21st or 22nd show. She's been doing it forever and truly impacting students all the way through. So well-deserved honor. She doesn't necessarily like to be in the spotlight, so it's something we want to definitely show off and be proud of for her. At that same competition, our drama department put on their spring show, Between the Lines. They put it on for the entire state and the crew that was out there. So they had to take the scenery and everything and pack it up, put it in a U-Haul and drive it down to Columbus and then set it up again and redo it. So they got to do the show. They did not bring the pit band. That was the one thing that they left at home. I did the music for. But great job for them. They did put on an encore performance one last time for the community so they can have a dry run to get it through. But it was a great show and really great opportunity for them to show it off in front of their peers in the state.
How did they do music without the pit?
So they used the tracks.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep, they tracked it. Softball scoreboard got its debut. Lights up. The home side is having bigger numbers than the visitor side, so that's a good thing. The first home game was against Chardon. It was neat to look out my window and see the score and that we were winning. Then went out and watched it a little bit. Did put a dedication plaque and a thank you plaque on the dugout to our Alumni Association, who gave a significant sponsorship to the scoreboard that's out there. And it's been really positive reviews. Oh, we know what the score is now, where we're at. So it's a really good thing, obviously, for the softball. One of the great things our Nick does with his department, or he is his department of one, mighty, but brought in a banner sponsorship program, really to look to kind of advertise our local sponsors, but also get their banners up. This year, 42 local banner sponsors joined us this year. It brought in over $70,000 to our athletic department. Just want to thank them for their support. There are different levels throughout, whether it's the stadium banners, the field house banners, and then even their kind of combined banners on our softball and baseball fields for the spring that are there to make sure that they're aware. So thank you again to those people who have partnered with us. The calendar, the 27, not next year's, but the year after, 2 year in advance, 27-28 school year calendar is on tonight for a vote. Pretty typical to that. We try to keep spring break, that spoiler alert, it's usually the last full week of March. That's what we always try to keep it as. That's the question that everybody wants to know, when is spring break? We've been consistent with that throughout. Getting some other local districts on board with that idea. Auburn is one of them. As well as Painesville City are looking at that as well. So we're trying to get more collaborative, a more consensus amongst our calendars. Ours being out 2 years in advance does give us an opportunity for that calendar. So
Is that great in August? That's
those
not
are our
what-
teacher work days
Yeah, I was
leading
gonna
up
say,
to
we
it.
still are one of the lone holdout districts who
We're
starts late, and
we're-
I think that's at the
Yeah.
request of families.
we're creeping a little earlier, but we're typically that third week. And to get there, we're not in the middle of August yet to any of that. We still have that last days right around Memorial Day, depending on what comes in. A lot of it's where Easter falls, where some of those things are that we provide days off for and kind of work through. So it's been working through that. One thing that I don't know that is identified in here, but will be soon, is the first day of kindergarten and what we deem kinder camp to start. That is very important now where it hasn't been, because that's the registration cutoff. So we will put that date on there shortly, and that will be a separate color that Nick will decide as to what he wants.
He has it written at the bottom, it's just not
He
March.
does. It's the 23rd, so age 5 by August 23rd, 2027 for kindergarten registration that year. That is a definite learning curve change for our families as we move through this.
Sorry to be a moving time.
Yeah.
So will there be like any phase in, like they're in, but they're,
Nope.
or it's just?
They're in or out.
They're
There is always the opportunity for early entrance resident. They can go for early entrance testing. We've had a couple do that, but it is the law is you are in or you're out.
Yeah.
So either you're 5 or you're not 5. So just continuing with kindergarten, we are registering our kindergartners now. One of the things we have started to do, I think this is the third one that we've done, is a kindergarten kickoff on May 7th. 5:30 to 7. It is located at each of the elementary schools, so it's located at the home schools. Strongly recommend that they all come to that. Come see the schools, see the buildings, the teachers are there. They run them through, the buses are out there. Buses are out there with bus driver recruiting banners hanging from them. But kids get to go on and see the bus, they get to see the school, meet their teachers, and kind of run around and have a great time. With that. Other exciting things, and I believe it was mentioned earlier, the CTX Open House is on May the 4th. So we're
CTX is what again?
Career Technical Experience. We are celebrating Star Wars Day by cutting the ribbon on our high-tech open house. Really happy about that. The ribbon cutting is at 5, but then it'll be open house after that where our families can go and see the space, look around, kind of see how students are learning in a different way. Really excited to host that. And we have invited many of our state reps. We've invited our state reps. We've invited many local politicians and more to kind of be a part of that celebration and celebrate what it is, because it was funded by a $2.5 million grant.
It's the same night as our band concert.
It is the same night as the 7th grade band concert. I believe the 6th grade band concert is at 6, and I believe they have a tradition of doing goodies afterwards. I believe their goodies are going to actually be in the CTX wing.
Yeah, we're looking to kind of combine
The
those two
cafeteria
things
to
so
get
people
them.
have.
We try to get free goodies out of it, but no, we're looking to have them come in to see it, and then 7th grade will see it before and go to the concert.
Because
So
there's
we're-
nowhere better to eat snacks than in a construction space.
Sawdust and cupcakes.
Why not?
I was gonna suggest maybe we ask Mr. Swiss in his communication, that he includes this open house,
We can.
so parents know.
That's a good
Yes, we
idea.
absolutely can. Agreed. Okay, another great event that we do is scheduled May 21st at 1 p.m. is our military signing event, recognizing our seniors who have chosen to enlist in the military following graduation. I don't know how many we have committed to this time, but I'll get an update to the board as soon as I get that number, and all board members are invited to attend and watch this great celebration to our bravest seniors. Really excited to have this, and this just came about 2 days ago, I believe. I got the letter, the notification. Riverside recently nominated 3 local businesses that we partner with for the 2026 OSBA Business Honor Roll. We're excited to announce that the OSBA has officially presented 3 businesses with a certificate of recognition for their strong partnership of our programming. That includes GEM Construction, Fulton Sign, and University Hospitals. We will bring universities recognition to them when we go meet with them. GEM, I think we're going to reach out to them to invite them to the CTX Open House. And then Fulton Sign, Brian Fulton's here all the time, so we'll find a way to present his to him as well. So thank you to those businesses. They truly are partners moving forward and have done a lot for us. And that concludes my report.
All right, that brings us to our treasurer's report and committee update. First is the Finance Audit Personnel Committee and Alumni Association Liaison, Mr. Byers.
Okay, we had a fairly short meeting as well. There are a bunch of items on that we'll be voting on to purchase later. Some of those including a high school math curriculum, electric program, transportation renewal, fuel purchase, and the instrument purchase that Belinda mentioned that was purchased through PI fund. We had talked about personnel. There were 10 postings open through spring break. Attended, like as Chris mentioned, there was the junior senior career fair that was talked about. Talked to at the Akron Fair. There was a lot of conversation with students that were graduating that are certified, will be certified teachers. This staffing survey was out, and we were getting more participation with that. so that was good. And then there was a budget update. Steve was at a statewide conference, so we missed him, but Mike discussed the new budget process, and you know, there's a learning curve there. They're sitting with the various departments and making sure everyone is aware of what their responsibilities are. May 15th, purchase orders are no longer permitted, with fiscal year ending in June 30th. Still looking to consolidate technology with centralized budget model. And that is about it for personnel and finance. The Alumni Association update, again, I'll just say it, the golf outing is June 20th. It'll be $100. It's a 4-man scramble. We're looking to get 18 teams this year so we can do a shotgun start. It'll include a hot dog lunch, mission barbecue dinner, I believe is still the plan. We're talking about different games and advantages that can be purchased for that, so it should be fun. I believe there will be cornhole for those not golfing. And then the last piece of that is they still had not had anyone apply for the scholarship. So if you know anyone who can benefit from those, please have them apply. It does have to be a student who has a parent or grandparent that was alumni, but they did move back the date on getting those submissions in, so you have time.
Dr. Tino, is there anything we can do with like the guidance, just to try to get word out on?
We will, I was just writing that down, so we will work
Thank
on
you.
making sure we send that out to all of our seniors.
About a month ago, we did send, just to senior parents, all the scholarship opportunities, and
Yeah.
I don't
I've
know if the
always
response
tried
was.
to tell parents that it's economically advantageous for their kids to apply for scholarships. I mean, for the obvious reasons. But, for example, when my kid was a senior, I said, okay, so spend your time really doing a good job filling out these scholarship applications and don't go get a part-time job and you make more money. Like per hour worked, it really was, like it's beneficial by the time you do that, and kids just are not applying for the scholarships, and we have so many of them out there. You know, all the ones that came in from RLEF and that we now house here in the district, and all the ones that were here in the district already. It's
I'm just trying to get my kid to read his emails, so.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Reading emails and getting to the page where they're all located we've put them all over places. We've set them text, we've set them QR codes. It's a true thing.
So
And-
Jamie McIntyre probably once a week sends senior updates to all the senior class, and it's everything: prom, scholarships, graduation ceremony.
I just want parents to be
But
aware of
we
that.
did also
Parents
do a
get
separate
emails.
one just for scholarships, just to parents.
I mean, it's in the weekly newsletters that we get from Mr. Hall, and so it's out there.
So it's a $1,500 scholarship. Just do the math on how many hours you would have to work at $20 an hour, which is
20.
twice as much as I made when I was
20.
graduate of college. But
Some people are getting paid now.
yeah. So, but I will say that the lack of application is they were able to use $3,000 of dollars from last year for the softball scoreboard as a donation. So it does not go unused. Thank you.
All right,
For me.
thank you. And that brings us to an update from the treasurer. We've been waiting for this.
I'll bet. So I'm doing a change in format, so I'll love to hear your feedback. What it's focused on is making sure you all have the information you need to know. Are we tracking with our 5-year forecast? Are we spending what we said we were going to spend? Are we behind? Are we ahead? Where are we? And I think ultimately, from a fiduciary perspective, that's probably one of the main functions of a school board. So that's what this is trying to do, and I'm trying to do it in a way that is digestible. So you have a written report in there as well. So the first thing I'm looking at, just cash balance trends as they relate to the forecast. So everything I show you is how does that relate to the forecast? We above, below, projections. So what we're currently looking at, of course, is fiscal year 26. Our expenditure analysis through March, obviously we're not completely through, but we're through 9 months, so it's pretty solid data at this point. And we're going to compare that to most actuals, but still some estimates for those last 3 months trending forward. So current year to date revenue collections are about $145,000 more is what I'm projecting than what we estimated. So not a ton of money, but it's in the right direction. Year-to-date expenditures, we're spending about, it looks like we're going to be about $53,000 more than we projected. So the net impact, of course, is that's $92,000 favorable overall. So and some of the variances, so in terms of our current monthly cash flow estimates, in 26, it was 19.2, and that cash flow estimates includes actual data through March to June 30 cash balance, and you can see that that is about $92,000 more than what we originally projected. Again, that does not mean we're not in deficit spending. It just means we're hitting what we said we were going to hit. So cash balance in June was $20 million, and we're clocking at about 19 million, which is $804,000 of operating deficit. But that wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the last second change by the county. You know, if we didn't do the rollback, that's about as much money as was pulled out from underneath the rug. I mean, we'd be spot on. So, so some of those cash flow variances from the forecast, again, we saw those numbers. Those numbers of that 145,000, here's a breakdown of where they were. So local tax reimbursements, a little bit higher. State revenue, we killed it. I mean, we really got a lot more than what we estimated, $8,600. We'll take it though, it's in the right direction. And all other revenue, $78,000, and that's what encompasses, that's where that $145,000 is coming from. So those top two categories obviously represent about 113.7% of our variance between our estimates and our actuals. Our total variance with current revenue estimates versus projected in the 5-year forecast is we're off a lot, 0.26% off our annual forecast. So the fiscal year 75% complete, or 9 months. That's how close we are to trending where we think we are. So there's just a small amount, just that orange, that still remains an estimate. So moving to expenditures, same period of time. Again, nailing our forecast, but we're still losing, we're still in deficit spending. We're still trending in the wrong direction. Where's it coming from? No surprise to anybody, the vast majority of our expenditures are in salaries and benefits. That is true of every school district. We're a service industry. It's what we do. Purchase services and all other expenses, bring that together. So if we break that down, you can see salaries and benefits, how much this is what you're looking at here is a comparison to last year. So salary and benefits went up. We made a reduction, remember, of $1 million in salary, and 1.1 million total reductions. But people they still saw a 3% pay raise. They still experienced a roughly 2% increase on a step if they were on steps, any column movements, all of those things. Every year is going to far exceed inflation. And because of House Bill 920, we're not getting any additional revenue anyways. Purchase services, as you can see, went up $630,000 compared to last year, this time last year. All other expenses went up $875,000, and our total expenditures, we're spending approximately $3.4 million more this year than we did last year, which is in line with what we projected. It's not that, there's nothing on here that's a surprise for us. And there's the total. So those compared to the same period that were expended last year. So the trend is $53,000 unfavorable to the forecast. There again is the breakout of where those expenditure trends came from. How did we get there? Salaries and benefits, we projected it to be higher than what it is. So we're coming under in salaries and benefits, but in the other purchase services and all other expenses, we missed the mark a little bit. But total overall, we are down $53,000, or $53,000 more in expenditures than we anticipated. And here is again a more extensive breakdown of specifically where that came from, if you want to get really into the details. But we track all of this. We track all these things and we monitor it every month.
That's the .26?
That's correct. Yeah. So again, those top two categories make up or represent 381% of the variance between, those current expenses and what we projected. And that's creating the variance of $53,000, which is 0.1%. Our variance on revenue is off 0.26%. Our variance on expenditures is off 0.1% off what we forecasted. So I'm going to just say it again because it feels so good. We nailed it. It's nailed. I mean, I don't think you can get any tighter of our projections versus what actually transpired. We continue to make our investments. So right now we have almost $30 million that's invested. We're still doing all right on those investments, as you can see. Not what it was doing a year ago. We were trending at 5% a year at the beginning of the year. So those portfolio yields are coming down some. But I think what's important to note, and I want the community to know, is we don't just sit it in the bank. We're investing our dollars until we need it, and then we pull it out when we need to make payroll, et cetera, trying to stretch their tax dollars. I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do this at the committee level, but I didn't do it at the last committee level, so I'm going to do it here. But moving forward, I'll update this every month on the committee level, so we have some clarity. I'm sorry that it's small. We did the best we could to make this larger, but so a lot of questions about what's going to happen to our PI levy. So, sorry. So right here is where you see a huge, in 2029, you see a big number coming in. There's two reasons for that number. This one is the turf replacement. So that's $600,000, which we are budgeting for in 2029. I hope we can take it out, but right now it's there. And then secondly, big number, that's when the COPS payment is going to kick in for Buckeye, the $15 million COPS deal. So that's now we go from building cash reserves to we're eating into our cash reserves. Across the bottoms, our cash reserves, 2.6 million, 3.8 million, 3.1, 3 million, and 2.8 million. So for the foreseeable future, this meeting, we went through, the three of us went through all our budgets and everything that we know that's repetitive, Everything that we can foresee, and we budgeted for it. That includes vehicles and buses and cleaning the track and money for parking lots, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it does not include $1 million parking lot project, which we know we need to do, but we did not budget for that. So that still hangs out there.
Is that 1.2? I thought it was less than that.
What?
else is in that 1.2 for Buckeye?
It's just the cops. It's just the cops. So, and that's a bit of a guess, and I went high. I hope I come back and tell you it's not 1.2, because we haven't sold the bonds yet. But
I thought it was.
at 12 million, it was almost $1 million. So it's a bit of a guess, going from 12 million to 15 million. I don't know yet until we get a GMP, we sell bonds, and then I'll be able to tell you exactly what it is. But that's what I'm confident it's not going to go over that. I'm hopeful that it's going to go under it. But you can see that does put PI in deficit spending, but it still leaves us. Now the good thing, also the thing to think about in this scenario, if we're successful, if we move forward and we're successful in a bond issue, all 3 elementaries are wrapped up. They shouldn't require a lot of major repairs. Our high school, 712 would be all buttoned up. So expenditures out of the PI account should diminish. Never totally go away, but should diminish. And hopefully that'll slow the curve. But we are going in the wrong direction. We will be eventually. When the cops kicks in, we'll start going in the wrong direction in our PI account.
The turf replacement, is that a guesstimate in price, and what is the scope of that project?
It's a guesstimate in price, of course, because it's still 2 years out. We're estimating $600,000. That's what we have here. What we don't have here is the fact that, well, let me ask to make sure. Did we take out the 200,000 that's in the sinking fund, or did we put the full 600?
There's 600 there, there's still money that's.
Yeah, there's
because I think it's gonna be slightly.
They thought it was going to be 800.
Right.
So the last quote that I received last year on just an estimate for what a turf field replacement was about $675,000. Now I would guess that it's about 800 by the time we're ready to do it.
We have 200 in a sinking fund and 600 there.
Which is still gaining revenue from cell tower, from the cell tower.
Yeah.
But
So-
this is just turf, this isn't track.
No,
it's
it's
The-
just new
The track has
carpet.
been replaced, they have to take they take the turf off, they put it right back down.
Yeah. And it's already honestly past its life expectancy, that turf.
We put it in, they said about 8 to 10 years, we're on 10 and we'll probably push 12 by the last estimate we had is about 2 to 4 years of life left on the turf. So
And then what happens, it starts ripping, coming apart at the seams, and
it gets
harder.
too, and that, it becomes a danger for concussions.
Yeah. So we have to address it. So that's our PI, and we'll continue to update that and bring that to our committee each month, so we can keep a track on those. Now, what's not showing up here is under each one of these drop downs are all the specificity underneath it, but they're in green and they're hidden so that I can fit it on one chart. Otherwise, it would never fit on a piece of paper, but those are all the major categories and everything that's underneath it. And also remember, we appropriate at the fund level, so I'm going to talk about this in a minute, I want to get away from it, but I don't want dollars from here going up to here or down to there, but we can if we have to. But we're working to make that less likely occurrence. So some important dates, and some of them are past. February 9th, we did department and building training on the new budgetary process. That handbook is in your file there, or in your notebook. That gives more specificity. On March 6th, budget requests were prepared. They had to justify them and review them internally. When I mean internally, within their own departments. That, they did that by March 6th and then submitted them on March 6th to us, which we went through. Big thank you to Mike. Mike spent a lot of time meeting with all the department and building principals because they have not had to create budgets, at least in quite a while. So it was a new process for them to learn how to do that. April 10th, we did an administrative review, and that was with the three of us, going through and trying to figure out if we appropriate it, which is going to be done in June. So whatever we appropriate, then that's going to go into the 5-year forecast, drive the 5-year forecast. So we know we're going to be in deficit spending, but our question was, how much is tolerable? What can we cut back? How can we minimize this? But at the same time, not be in March saying, we need to transfer $300,000 from general fund because, you know, on paper, we made it look like we were making all these reductions when in fact we couldn't, like fuel or whatever it might be. Budgets were finalized and returned to buildings and departments. Hard date, so all of you teachers and leaders out there, there'll be no additional purchase orders accepted after May 15th. Zero, none, no exception. No exception. I won't even, Mike doesn't even get to just weigh in. It's no from me. It's no. No.
We don't have to sign anymore?
No, it's no. It's no. Don't ask me. It's no. No.
15th, okay. Hey, one less step for me, I'm happy.
What we will do in an effort to be flexible though, and we've told these guys, we've made this out there known for a while, they've known, but it's gonna be hard for them because they're not used to it. But we will let them put a purchase order in and date it July 1st, but they're gonna have to sit and wait. So that means, you know, if you're gonna buy cleaning supplies for summer cleaning, you gotta think ahead.
Yeah, but that's also coming out of their next year budget, so
That is true. That is also true.
too bad.
Too bad. That is true. And then June 25th, well, I guess it's June
25th and 26th.
3rd.
23rd.
It's 23rd now, but when I made this, it was the 25th. It won't be temporary appropriations. That's a typo on my part. It'll be the final appropriations. And then you'll also get the 5-year forecast. And then we'll have everything closed and all the documents that's required for that, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where we are. Any questions?
do now?
It's June, July.
If I look at the 3 years forecast.
It's a 4-year forecast.
Whatever the financial
Yeah.
forecast.
It's 4 years. They require 4 years, not 5, 4. But we're gonna keep doing 5. I'm just gonna, I would agree that year 2 should be, the year you're in should be rock solid, and clearly we were. Year 2 should be pretty darn good. Year 3 should give you a strong indication. Year 4 starts to fade away, and year 5 is anybody's guess. So much change. You're in a different biennium. There's a lot of changes that go on, but it still gives us trend data, and I think it's worth doing to see that. I think it'll help us, and we're used to it. That's what we're used to seeing and operating under. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Does your new software still accommodate the 5 years, or is it shortening?
No, it's accommodating the 5-year. In those, that format that I used Forecast 5 to do that.
All right, that brings us to public comment. So anyone wishing to address the Board of Education will be recognized by the board president. Speakers are requested to speak from their seat, identify themselves and their topic. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Any public comment tonight?
Not all at once.
We had such a great policy on it.
All right, so that brings us to consent agenda. First one up is finance and audit.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the items listed A through N on the finance audit consent agenda as recommended by the treasurer. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, can I ask a couple of questions? So, I see that we're doing this Cleveland Construction for pre-construction. That's out of PI, correct?
Yes.
And then, boys volleyball, I have a question on that. So we added a boys volleyball varsity sport, correct?
We did not.
We
This
did-
is a,
is this a club sport? I couldn't
completely.
remember.
Yeah, this is a club sport completely funded by the team. There's no cost to us.
So we don't have that yet. How many people are participating in that right now? Do we know?
We just, there's a handful, I mean, they
It's
just.
10 to, I mean, I think it's about, I think they keep 10 to 15. There's a good number.
I'm just curious, right? Hold on. In item K, where we have our blanket purchase orders, we have Lepo rental. Are we buying a Bobcat? Because that's
No.
about how much that costs.
Oh, so I took a look real quick. That actually should have that little notation next to it, like the one below it does. So that's kind of like a culmination throughout, from July 1st through now.
Is that to rent one?
Well, rent multiple different pieces of
So
equipment.
here's my question. Why are we spending that much money with Lepo rents when it only costs 25 grand to buy a Bobcat?
Well, these are like, we have a scissor lift that we've gone, and there's like,
Don't we have our own scissor lifts?
Not an outdoor one.
I don't know, Jordan.
Special wheels.
Yeah, and you can't use an indoor one outdoor. Push-ups.
but this last one actually takes into account the project over.
And that's a large bulldozer that they're renting, and not a Bobcat.
It's not a Bobcat.
No, it's
That's
a,
just the name of the company.
I know.
on there, so.
I bought a Bobcat from them.
yeah, it's a, I can drive it.
It's just
That-
putting it
that-
out there, like, okay. And then my last question, I think, was, we're putting on the agenda the amount for the construction, the 22,000, but then it's under the then and now. So do we already pay it?
Not yet.
No, it hasn't been paid.
They've already done the work, they sent us the invoice for it, we just didn't have the purchase order in place prior to that.
That's all.
And we're doing, they know that Mike and I do not like them in nows, and we're working on significantly reducing them, but sometimes the situation, as you know, occurs and there's nothing you can do about it.
I had a question about the World Fuel Services. I see the 120,000. How does that service work? And I think this is the second one we voted on since I've been on the board. So, what's the one? I mean, obviously it's paying for fuel, but how does that work? Do they come and put it in the ground in the tank for us and we pump it out?
They're right out here, or here, I'm disoriented, over here, yeah, back by the
Okay.
football stadium.
Just curious. Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually,
Share that with
we share that
Painesville.
with Painesville City, and we're looking at more. We didn't mention it, we probably should have, but we're looking at some conversations too. Chris and I will be meeting with their superintendent to look at where they repair their buses, and, you know, they've got a great facility, what can we do
We're
to
looking
partner?
at,
We're already partnering with them on fuel.
we have Fairport as well, to have some conversations. I know Fairport doesn't do busing, but they have to bus their kids at times, and so we're looking at options for that too.
And then I just want to make sure that we thank the people who've donated dollars. So there was some money from 1922 Coffee and Brew to the Riverside Theater. We had dollars donated to the George Haddon, from George Haddon to the Clyde C. Haddon Memorial Scholarship Fund, another scholarship folks. And another donation from the Lamarcos family, I would assume that is, to Riverside Softball. So thank you for those.
Is that any more discussion? Can you take the roll?
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Adino,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
That brings us to personnel.
Okay. A motion to approve the items listed A through H on the personnel consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Can I get a second?
I'll second. Go ahead.
Any discussion?
I have a question. I'm just curious, how do we determine supplemental contracts? What do we use to come up with the number?
It's
Your actual.
It's in the contract.
Well, okay, I guess before that. I mean, I know that the contract dictates what goes on this paper, but what determines what, do we use other school districts to determine supplementals as a baseline, or is it?
It rolls from, I mean, it's kind of been inherited. I know there was a big, I think honestly about 10 to 15 years ago, there was a redo of some of the supplementals, to take some out, to add some, to change them, but it's off the base. It's a percentage off the base salary, it goes up every year. That's kind of where they're at.
And it comes with a step program too, right?
There is a step program for seniority in the supplemental. So if you've done the supplemental for a number of years, you can go, they're
It's
counted.
like 2 or 3 levels.
Yes, there are 3 levels.
Okay, that was just a general question. Thank you. That's all I had.
I would just like to, congratulate the folks that are retiring, Mrs. Starr and Mrs. Viverka.
Hers is just a simple date change.
Well,
Star is
hers-
actually.
Mrs. Starr has been,
Mrs.
she's,
Starr is-
my kids had her, so she's been around a long time, and congratulations to her on her retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of books in the room.
Steele. We have a custodian retiring of 43 years.
Oh, big deal.
Wow. Did I miss that one?
She's
It's
on
just
the.
in a different section.
Different section.
But yes, 43 years, that is the longest tenure,
Wow.
correct?
That's amazing.
Yes. And her family worked here.
Really?
Yes, yeah, so we will be doing something for her at our cookout.
Good for them. I hope they have enjoyable retirements.
Any other discussion? Steve, could you call the roll?
Mr. Byers?
Aye.
Ms. Brewster?
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski?
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi?
Aye.
Mr. Adino?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Can I just mention one thing? I see on here we have a school psychologist intern.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that anybody who is taking psychology as part of their college degree, this is a program that they offer that is through the state, and we don't pay for this person. This is an internship that's paid through the state, and there's so many school psychologist openings that if you don't know that's a job potential, it's a job potential. Like I'm just,
Yes.
Oh.
And she's-
they're on every school district's, it's a need
It is the only internship.
that is paid by the
that's
state.
Paid by the state.
Yeah, it gets paid.
Somewhere a governor's wife is a psychologist. That is the truth of that.
Well, I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. We are not paying
So
for
we're
that
really happy with
Stay-
that.
We are,
Right.
we are excited to
She
have
was a
her to work.
practicum student with us this year.
And it's probably a guaranteed, it's a guaranteed job for these folks. Anyway,
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. We're really happy. And we went through the steps to have our site approved, so we're really excited that that will be something we can continue to.
All right, that brings us to consent agenda for curriculum and programming.
Yes, motion to approve the items listed A through G on the curriculum and program consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll please.
Ms. Brewster?
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski?
Aye.
Mr. Adino?
Aye.
Mr. Byers?
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi?
aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Consent agenda for buildings and grounds and operations.
I'm gonna question this one because we have an item that's on hold.
Oh,
Are we skipping that one?
We're skipping that one. That one did not come through. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
So it's A through
A
H.
through,
A through what?
yeah, A through H.
A through H.
Okay. Yeah, we have a motion to approve the items listed on the buildings and grounds operations consent agenda, A through H, as recommended by the superintendent. Can I have a second?
Second.
Again, we talked about most all of these at our buildings and grounds meeting, with the exception of one. And I think that was the preventative maintenance for the bleachers, but that's also a routine annual
That
inspection.
is a requirement, yes.
It's a requirement. Is there any other discussion? And then can we call the roll?
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mr. Adino,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
As mentioned earlier, there's the policy agenda, which is the first reading of the new and revised board policy.
We will have changes to the bylaw, and it'll be on again next month for a first reading. The fake meat will be on for a vote.
No big ribs.
No 3D printed meat.
All right, that brings us to Board of Education business. We do have a resolution authorizing the Riverside Local School District's joinder of the Ohio Coalition for Equity and Adequacy of School Funding. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, and how about some discussion?
I appreciate the information that you forwarded in our Friday packet. And Joe, thank you for the sending the links. Some of that information was very helpful, and reading their PowerPoint, I thought at least brought some of additional information to the table I thought was interesting, so thank you for sharing.
I will mention that I felt that the answers to Dr. Rattino's questions were a little canned, not necessarily providing us with any more transparency than we started with. It really didn't define the scope and intent. It didn't give us a lot of financial clarity. I know that you reached out to someone subsequently who kind of back-channeled some financials to you.
So we did a public records request to their fiscal agent.
Yeah, so we shouldn't have to take that kind of length when they're asking us for our money, taxpayer dollars, our students' money. So I don't know if my view is changed by the information they provided us. And the fact that they included some politically charged comments in the response to you mentioning the Koch brothers, those are all talking points that you typically hear on a 24-hour news channel. So I don't know if I'm any further along than I was a month ago. That's just my point of view.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Like, I reached out to them individually myself to see if I could get additional further information on their financial, where they spend their money, and I know that the ESC is, their fiscal agent is an ESC, and I think I sent you that, hey, do what you need to do, whatever. They were not forthcoming with the information when I asked for it. I don't.
They did mention to me that you asked for it.
Yeah. And it was interesting to see, like, the data that they provided was just a little bit interesting. I tend to agree with you when you say I'm not quite sure I'm fond of their message. I understand that vouchers, we need to be advocates for public school funding, but I'm not sure I'm a fan of 100% of their message all the time. And I have a problem with that, and I spoke to someone at great length about that just this past week, as a matter of fact, who had called me out of the blue, I don't know why, to ask me some questions on the fact that we were having this conversation. And I said, I don't speak for the board, but I'm gonna tell you, like, maybe somebody should take that back to them and tell them maybe they can revise some of their messaging, because it's not, vouchers aren't all bad. It's the funding mechanism that is not appropriate. And she was just very taken aback that I would say that. So I'm on the fence at this point.
Yeah, honestly, we were voting for voucher equity, the concept. I'd vote yes twice if I could, but
Right.
this coalition in particular doesn't sit well with me.
So, yeah, I wanted to make a couple comments. You know, it is in litigation. We're going to be able to continue to follow what's happening in the courts. It is a politically charged issue. I totally agree that there's a lot of money going where it shouldn't be going, but, you know, in reading a lot more comments, our own Attorney General Yost, he said that there's no guarantee that even if that money was changed, that it would come back to us. And I felt that was pretty problematic, because we're assuming that it would. And the fact in reading, the records request information that you sent, and thank you for doing that. We already knew that the ESC of Northeast Ohio is a member and we're associated with them, but also the Ohio School Boards Association, of which we pay a membership, they are also members and advocating. So I feel like we have advocates already for us on this.
I would just say that I just look at it as return on investment, and while the return on investment could be substantial if the court case is ruled in favor and money is brought back to us, I don't think our $8,000 makes a difference in whether it doesn't change I don't think it changes the outcome of the case. So therefore, the return on investment is pretty much the same.
And it's $8,000 each year.
Each year.
Yeah, it isn't just a one-time 8,000. And the other thing that I don't think we really got a clear answer was, they say how many people are members, but it's whether they've ever been a member, are they a current member, how many do they actually have, it was vague. I don't think we ever got a finite answer.
They're a council of governments. They're organized as a council of governments, so they're kind of like our healthcare consortium used to be, right? And they quoted, we have an audit every year, but when I went back and I looked up the audits, it's not really an audit. It was specialized procedures, and right. And I was like, don't try to pull the wool over my eyes. You didn't have an audit. Do you know what I mean? And the reports are out there because it's a council of governments. The data is out there on the state's website, and all you have to do is Google it. I mean, it's pretty easy to get to, and that, I guess that irritated me to the point where I said, yeah, no. So I'm just throwing that out there. Good point.
A lot of good discussion. Is there anything else?
You call the roll.
Mr. Byers?
Nay.
Ms. Brewster?
Nay.
Mr. Adino?
Nay.
Mrs. Grassi?
Nay.
Mrs. Krasinski?
Nay.
So that means the motion failed.
And it's
0 to 5. That's first for me.
It was good to have the conversation, I think,
It was.
because I think, like I said, I'm a huge proponent of advocacy for the funding of public schools, but I think, and I believe the lawsuit should go forward, but I don't believe that they were transparent about the questions that we asked, so. Thanks for having the conversation.
Thank you for bringing that information.
Thank you.
Board of Education update?
I wanted to thank Nick for putting out, I didn't get to say it at the last meeting, the little survey thing for the seniors, because sometimes, we don't have their information to contact them. And I assume you got a decent response, and
We passed out about 250 and we got about 30 responses maybe.
okay, but you might have had some of them already, because I see a lot of the same people there too.
Did you try MySpace?
Okay,
We put it on Craigslist.
but I guess at this point, I know at one point.
I'm one of them, so I can say it.
Yeah, you talked about, like the parents and that the email addresses we have, that we were at about 5,000 initially. Where are we now? Because we've made an attempt to try to reach out more.
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but it's probably not a ton more than that.
Oh, I thought that we were like doubling that, or
You mean from LOB?
I wasn't specifically saying that, I'm talking about
That's where it came from.
in general.
What are we doing with those?
I thought, maybe I'll shut up. I thought
We
we had them.
We haven't really done anything with the list.
And we do here.
We got it about, 3 weeks ago? We put it in a Friday packet about the information. I don't know how accurate it is. There's 28,000 entries. When I removed duplicates, went down to about 23. Some spot checks were correct, some spot checks were incorrect. So we haven't done anything with it yet. It's the board purchased it. If you give us the authority to use it, we will use it and see what happens.
I just wonder, in light of the fact that we're trying to appeal to the public for support, that we might want to at least send something out inviting them for information or whatever and see what you get. Because, 5,000, if it even goes to 10,000, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the 5,000 is
Do you
our
need
parent-
authorization from us, are you saying?
Well, I question,
I don't know if there was any board discussion once, it was
Okay.
a discussion for a long time
Okay.
about even getting the list, and now that we have the list and
Can we discuss it at our next meeting?
it's not 100% accurate, I don't know how, I don't know.
I-
New business, old business?
Yeah, I think there's some significant concerns that are with the list.
Well, then,
If
we
I-
just need to talk about it.
I think we do. I think it's a great thing for new business at the next meeting.
Okay,
So we'll pencil that in.
all right, but thank you for your efforts.
The 5,000 you're referring to is our parent email.
Yeah, I know.
That just syncs with our student information system, and of course, we have our community leaders, and we do have some people who fill out the website email address and the senior citizen, so that adds a couple hundred.
Okay,
We had a lot of success with our strategic plan in reaching out to the local townships and asking them to put it on their Facebook page. And I think that got a lot of buy-in from the surveys.
yeah, I had a couple emails from people that saw it in the newspaper.
Yep. Oh,
So, that was
we made the
good.
front page, I think, with that too.
Yeah,
So,
so I'm just saying,
Thank
there's
you, Bryson.
a lot of good ways to get in touch.
any other Board of Education updates? All right, next meeting announcements. We have Curriculum and Programming Committee meeting, May 13th, 2026 at 7:30 a.m. Finance and Personnel Committee meeting, May 14th, 2026 at 7 a.m. Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, May 19th, 2026 at 7:30 a.m. And our Board of Education meeting is May 21st, 2026 at 6 p.m.
And I don't think there's a need for a policy meeting.
There's not, no.
Okay. But just to follow up with what Dan sends, and then, if you have any comments, and it'll be approved.
May 13th is our career quest, which I have 100 fifth graders coming here at 8:30 in the morning.
What day?
May 13th.
We,
So we may be looking to reschedule the curriculum meeting.
That doesn't sound like a very busy day for you.
I think we have a power outage too.
We don't have to wait. Right after, I think when we're done, maybe we could talk about what days might work.
Okay.
Okay.
all right, and that brings us to executive session. So be it resolved that the Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby adjourns to executive session at 8:37 p.m. for the purpose of discussing safety and security arrangements and the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, conference with an attorney to discuss disputes involving the district that are subject of pending or imminent court action. Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby designates all matters discussed in this executive session as strictly confidential and finds that this designation is warranted because of the status of this matter and the need to preserve confidentiality to properly conduct the business of this Board of Education. Can I get a second?
Awesome.
Thank you. Can you call roll, please?
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
and Mr. Adino.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.